In the fading light of an autumn afternoon, Mia Harper stood alone at her sister Elena's grave, clutching a single wilted flower, haunted by the words she never said. I'm sorry. 3 years after Elena's death, the guilt still burned, until she noticed a man in a janitor's uniform and a small girl crying quietly beside the headstone, placing fresh daisies and a child's drawing of a woman with golden hair. Who were they? And what had Elena hidden from her all those years?
Why did you have to go?
Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
I miss you so much,
The
Lisa.
autumn afternoon at Greenwood Cemetery carried the soft hush of falling leaves, golden light slanting through the oaks and maples, turning the paths into quiet rivers of amber and rust. A cool breeze stirred the air, carrying the faint scent of damp earth and distant rain. The city's distant hum felt far away, as though the world had paused here, among the stones and the silence. Mia Harper walked slowly along the familiar gravel path, her camel cashmere blazer buttoned against the chill, the long beige trench coat brushing her calves. At 30, she was a woman of sharp edges and quiet successes, a Manhattan entrepreneur whose days were measured in meetings and numbers, whose nights were empty. Her dark brown hair was pulled back simply, strands escaping in the wind. Her fair skin showed the faint lines of someone who had learned to carry weight alone. She held a single white rose, its petals already curling at the edges. Each Tuesday she came here, to Elena's grave, and each time the same ache returned, the regret she had never spoken. 15 years old, in a storm that rattled the windows of their small apartment, Mia had lain feverish on the couch while Elena sat beside her, cool cloth on her forehead. Their parents had been gone only months, car accident, sudden and final. Elena had received the letter that week. A full scholarship to a good university, the kind of chance neither of them had expected. But when Mia woke in the night, burning and afraid, Elena stayed. She read aloud from old books, sang softly until the fever broke. In the gray dawn, Elena whispered, "You're the only family I have left, Mia. That's enough, Mia, angry at her own helplessness, had snapped, "You're throwing your life away from me. It's useless." The words had landed like stones. Elena only smiled, tired and steady. She never mentioned the scholarship again. Mia never apologized. And now Elena was gone. 3 years, a car crash on a rainy highway, and the silence between them felt permanent. Mia knelt before the headstone, tracing the carved letters with one finger. Elena Brooks. Beloved sister. The dates were too close together. She placed the rose at the base, then sat back on her heels, breathing the cool air. She had built a life of independence, of control, but here the control slipped. The guilt was a quiet companion. She had been too busy, too focused on the next deal, to sit with Elena in those last months. She had told herself there would be time. There was not. A small sound broke the stillness. Soft crying, almost swallowed by the wind. Mia looked up. A few yards away, beside Elena's stone, a man in a Navy custodian's polo knelt on the grass. He was 35, perhaps, medium height, sturdy from years of labor. Short brown hair neatly trimmed, hands rough and steady. No beard, just the faint shadow of a day's growth. His eyes were downcast, but there was a gentleness in the way he held himself. Beside him sat a little girl, 5 years old, long brown hair in a loose ponytail, fair skin flushed from the cold. She wore a pastel pink cable knit sweater and black leggings, small white sneakers scuffed at the toes. In her arms, she clutched a worn stuffed bear. They were both crying quietly, tears tracing silent paths. The man placed a handful of simple daisies against the stone, and the girl carefully laid down a crayon drawing, a woman with golden hair reading to children under a rainbow. Mia's breath caught. She stood slowly. Who were they? Why here, at Elena's grave? The question rose like a tide. Had Elena given more than Mia ever knew? Had she poured her quiet strength into other lives, other losses? The thought brought a sharp pang, not jealousy, but something deeper. Recognition. The same selflessness that had kept Elena home that stormy night. The same love that had whispered, family is enough. Mia felt the old anger at herself soften, replaced by a fragile wonder. Perhaps Elena had not left her alone after all. Perhaps she had left pieces of herself behind, waiting to be found. She took one step forward, then another, the gravel crunching under her boots. The man looked up, startled. The girl hit her face against his shoulder. Mia stopped a respectful distance away. For the first time in years, the silence at the grave felt less like an end and more like a beginning. She would ask. She would listen. And maybe, just maybe, she would finally say the words she owed her sister. The wind picked up across the cemetery, rustling the dry leaves against the stones, carrying the faint, clean scent of approaching rain. The golden light had softened, turning everything to muted amber. Mia stood still for a long moment, watching the man and the child, her heart beating slow and heavy in the quiet. She walked toward them, boots crunching on gravel, each step deliberate. The man looked up first. Lucas Bennett, 35. Sturdy shoulders under the Navy custodian's polo, short brown hair neatly combed despite the day's work. No beard, just the faint lines of a man who had carried more than most. His eyes held a quiet weariness, the kind that comes from nights without enough sleep, from choices made and lost. He rose slowly, protective, one hand resting on the little girl's shoulder. Lily, 5 years old, shrank against him, her pastel pink sweater catching the light, long brown hair falling across her face. She clutched the stuffed bear tighter, small knuckles white. Her fair skin was flushed from crying, her round face hidden half in shadow. Mia stopped a few feet away. Her voice came out sharper than she intended. "What are you doing here? This is my sister's grave." The words hung in the air, edged with the old anger she had carried too long, the anger at loss, at herself. She had been tricked before, in boardrooms and back alleys, people using kindness as a door to open. Trust had cost her once. She would not let it cost Elena's memory. Lucas met her gaze steadily. No defensiveness, only a gentle sorrow. "Ma'am," he said, voice low and calm, like a man used to speaking softly in hospital corridors. "We didn't mean to intrude. We'll go." He bent to gather the crayons and paper, motioning Lily to stand. The child's eyes flicked up, wide, uncertain, then down again. Mia felt a pang, sharp and unexpected. The girl's fear was familiar. She had seen it in her own mirror years ago. She looked at the headstone again. The daisies were fresh, tied with a simple piece of twine. Beside them lay the child's drawing, a woman with golden hair, smiling, surrounded by children, books open on her lap, a rainbow arching above. It was Elena. Unmistakably Elena. The way she used to sit with Mia on rainy afternoons, reading until the world felt small and safe. Mia's throat tightened. She had never known Elena read to others. She had never asked. The thought settled like dust. Perhaps she had never really known her sister at all. Lucas paused, seeing the change in her face. He spoke quietly. "She was kind to us. That's all." Mia exhaled slowly. The anger ebbed, leaving room for something else. Curiosity, fragile as new leaves. She softened her tone just enough. "Wait, please. How did you know her? Tell me." Lucas hesitated, glancing at Lily, who still clung to his leg. He nodded once. "Her name was Elena. She worked at City General. She took care of my wife and my daughter." The words were simple, but they carried weight, the kind that comes from years of gratitude held in silence. Mia felt the ground shift beneath her. Elena had given more than family. She had given to strangers, and Mia had missed it. The realization was gentle, almost tender, like a hand on her shoulder she had not expected. She looked at the child again, Lily, small and watchful, and felt the first crack in the wall she had built around her grief. They stood there, the three of them, in the fading light. No one moved. The wind sighed through the trees. Mia realized she did not want them to leave. Not yet. There was something here, something Elena had left behind, waiting to be understood. She would listen. She would stay. And perhaps, in listening, she might begin to forgive herself. The light had begun to thin, shadows stretching long across the grass. A few drops of rain touched the stones, soft as whispers. The cemetery held its breath, the air cool and heavy with the promise of more. Mia stood quietly, arms folded against the chill, waiting. Lucas remained kneeling for a moment longer. then rose, brushing dirt from his knees. Lily stayed close, her small hand in his. He looked at Mia with eyes that had seen too much too soon. Lucas Bennett was 35, but the lines around his mouth spoke of more years than that. Short brown hair, neatly trimmed, no beard, just the shadow of stubble from long shifts. His Navy custodian's polo was faded at the seams, the logo of City General Hospital worn but proud. His voice, when he spoke, was low and steady, the kind that carries through quiet hospital halls without ever rising. "My name is Lucas Bennett. This is my daughter, Lily." He rested a hand on the girl's shoulder. Lily peeked up, eyes wide and wary, then looked away. Lucas continued, "We come here because your sister, Elena, she was good to us. More than good." Mia listened, the wind moving through her hair. She felt the old walls inside her shift, not crumble, but soften. She nodded once, inviting him to go on. Lucas exhaled slowly. "I used to be a software engineer. Good job, steady pay. Then Grace, my wife, got sick. Cancer. 3 years ago." His words came measured, without self-pity. "I took leave to stay with her. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. The company let me go. Said I was unreliable. No insurance after that. Bills piled up. Grace fought hard, but she was tired." He paused, looking at the headstone as though Elena might still be listening. Elena was her nurse at City General. She didn't just change dressings or check vitals. After her shift, she stayed, sat by the bed, talked, read, made Grace laugh when laughing felt impossible. Mia's chest tightened. She had never pictured Elena that way, lingering in hospital rooms, giving time she didn't have to give. Lucas's voice grew quieter. One night, Grace was scared. Elena sat with her and told her about losing her parents young, about raising her little sister alone. She said, "Strength isn't in never falling. It's in what we do for the people we love." Grace held on a little longer because of that. The rain began in earnest now, light and steady, tapping on leaves and stones. Mia felt it on her face, cool and cleansing. She thought of Elena's words to her all those years ago. "You're the only family I have." The same words reshaped for another woman in another room. The recognition settled deep, like a stone finding its place at the bottom of a river. Lucas glanced at Lily, who had begun to shiver. He pulled her closer. Elena knew we had no one to watch Lily when I worked nights. She'd bring books, crayons, sit with her in the waiting room so I could clean floors without worrying. He looked back at Mia. She never asked for thanks, never made it feel like charity. She just did it. Mia's eyes moved to the drawing still resting against the stone. The woman with golden hair, the children, the rainbow. She saw Elena now, not just the sister who had stayed home one stormy night, but a woman who had chosen to stay for others again and again. The guilt that had lived in her for 3 years shifted. It did not vanish, but it changed shape, became something she could carry differently. She looked at Lucas, really looked. Saw the man who had lost his career, his wife, his certainty, yet still came here with daisies and a child's drawing. She felt a quiet respect rise in her. And with it, the first faint belief that Elena's kindness had not ended with her. It had simply changed hands. They stood in the gentle rain, 3 figures and 1 stone. No one spoke for a long time. The drops fell like tears no one needed to shed anymore. Mia drew a slow breath. She would stay. She would hear the rest. And perhaps in hearing, she might begin to believe that love given so freely never truly leaves us. The rain had settled into a steady murmur, tapping gently on the leaves overhead. The cemetery paths darkened with wet, the air thick with the scent of soaked earth and pine. Mia felt the drops on her cheeks, cool and unhurried as though the sky itself were listening. Lucas stood close to the stone, Lily pressed against his leg. The world narrowed to the 3 of them and the quiet grave between. Lucas spoke again, his voice low, carrying over the soft patter. When Grace grew weaker, Elena would come after her shift. She'd pull up a chair beside the bed, read to her, old novels, poetry, anything that felt like home. He looked down at the daisies, now glistening with rain. Grace couldn't always speak by then, but Elena read anyway. Slow, steady, like she had all the time in the world. Mia pictured it, the dim hospital room, the beep of machines, Elena's gentle voice cutting through the fear. She had never seen that side of her sister, the patience that stayed long after duty ended. Lucas continued. We had no one for Lily. She was 2 then. I'd bring her to the hospital, leave her in the waiting room with a blanket and a book while I cleaned floors all night. He paused, the memory heavy. Elena saw that. One evening, she just stayed, brought toys from her own apartment, books, crayons, sat with Lily so I could work without worry. Lily shifted then, lifting her face. Her eyes were still wary, but there was a small spark of trust in the way she looked at her father. Lucas knelt, brushed a wet strand from her forehead. Elena taught her to draw. Simple things. Flowers, rainbows, people holding hands. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the worn stuffed bear Lily always carried. Its fur was faded, one ear stitched crookedly. She gave her this, said it was old but it had listened to a lot of stories, told Lily to hug it whenever she missed her mom, said, love doesn't go away, Lily, it just changes shape. Lily took the bear, pressed it to her chest. In a small voice, almost lost in the rain, she whispered, Sister Elena said love never goes away. The words landed softly, like rain on stone. Mia felt them enter her like a memory she had forgotten she owned. Elena had said the same thing to her once, years ago, on a night when the thunder wouldn't stop and Mia was too young to understand death. Love never goes away, Elena had whispered, holding her close. Mia's throat closed. She had thought those words belonged only to her, but here they were, given freely to a frightened child in a hospital corridor. The realization was quiet, almost tender. Elena had not kept her kindness in a box. She had shared it, piece by piece, until it reached beyond the walls Mia had never known to look behind. Mia looked at Lily again. The girl was small, fragile, yet there was something resilient in the way she held the bear, like she had learned early that comfort could be carried in one's arms. Lucas spoke once more, softer now. Lily used to be afraid of strangers, kids at school. They said things about her dad not having money, about her clothes. She'd hide behind me, but Elena would sit with her, draw with her. Said drawing could turn fear into something beautiful. A rainbow, maybe. He smiled faintly, the first one Mia had seen. Lily started to open up, started to trust again. Mia felt the rain on her face mingle with something warmer. She thought of her own walls, built high after loss, after betrayal in boardrooms and empty nights. She had not drawn rainbows. She had built fortresses instead, but Elena had drawn them for others, and in doing so, she had left a path back to hope. Mia looked at the drawing still propped against the stone, the woman with golden hair, the children, the bright arc overhead. She understood now. Elena had not just cared for the sick. She had cared for the lonely, for the afraid, for the ones who had no one else. The thought settled deep inside Mia, loosening something that had been knotted for years. She did not speak. There were no words yet, only the rain, the quiet, and the slow opening of a heart that had forgotten how. They remained there as the rain eased. Lucas lifted Lily into his arms. She rested her head on his shoulder, bear tucked under her chin. Mia watched them, 2 figures against the gray sky, carrying the weight of loss yet standing straight. She felt no need to fill the silence. It was enough to stand in it. Enough to know that Elena's love had not ended at the grave. It had simply traveled further, and perhaps in time it would reach her too. The rain had eased to a drizzle, leaving the cemetery paths slick and shining under the dimming sky. Puddles gathered in hollows, reflecting the last of the amber light. The air hung heavy, cool and clean, as though washed of old sorrows. Lucas straightened, wiping rain from his brow, his eyes steady on Mia. Lily clung to his leg, the stuffed bear damp in her arms. Lucas spoke quietly, his voice blending with the fading patter. Grace passed a few weeks before Elena's accident. We heard the news at the hospital. It hit us hard, harder than we expected. Elena wasn't just a nurse. She was light in a dark time. He paused, looking at the headstone, the carved name blurred by water. We wanted to go to the funeral, but we had no place there. Strangers. Really. So we started coming here. Early mornings mostly. Bring what we can. Daisies from the corner store, drawings from Lily. It's our way to say thank you. For 3 years now. Mia whispered, barely audible over the distant wind. I didn't know she did so much. The words felt small, inadequate. But doubt lingered in her chest. A shadow from too many deceptions in her world of deals and distrust. She straightened, voice firmer. How do I know this is true? I need proof. Lucas's face tightened, the weariness deepening. A flicker of hurt crossed his eyes. The quiet man who had lost so much now questioned in his grief. He nodded once sharply. I understand. We'll leave you be. He turned, scooping Lily into his arms. The child whimpered, burying her face in his shoulder, clutching the bear like a lifeline. Mia watched them walk away. Steps slow on the wet gravel. Her heart twisted. The sight of Lily's small back, the way she trembled, it echoed her own long-ago fears. She called out softly, Wait, but they did not turn. The doubt she had thrown like a stone now weighed on her own chest. Mia drove home through the gathering dusk, the city lights blurring in the rain-streaked windows. Her apartment waited, modern, empty, the kind of place that echoed with silence. She poured a glass of water, sat at the kitchen table, the surface cool under her palms. The doubt gnawed. Had she been too quick to question? Too guarded? She thought of Elena's face in the old photos, the gentle eyes that had never judged her. Rising, she went to the closet, pulled down a box of Elena's things, kept but never opened. Inside, a worn journal, edges frayed. She opened it slowly, pages whispering like leaves. Entries from hospital days. Sat with Grace today. She's fading, but her smile, it's worth the extra hour. And later, little Lily drew me a flower. Reminds me of Mia at that age. Love doesn't go away. It changes shape. Told her that. Hope it helps. Mia's breath caught. Proof, yes. But more. Elena's handwriting, steady and kind, filled the gaps Mia had never filled. The sacrifices, the scholarship forsaken, the nights stayed home, they were not isolated. They were Elena's way of being. Tears came then, hot and sudden. Mia wept for the sister she had not fully known, for the time lost to busyness, for the doubt that had driven Lucas away. The sobs shook her, releasing the knot she had carried since the accident. She had been alone, yes, but Elena had never been. She had woven connections Mia was only now seeing. The guilt softened, not gone, but shared now. Mia wiped her eyes, the journal open before her. She would find them. Apologize. Listen more. That night, Mia lay in the quiet dark, the city hum distant through the window. The rain had stopped, leaving a clear sky pricked with stars. She thought of Lucas's tired eyes, Lily's small voice. Her own loneliness, once a sharp edge, now felt like an open door. She whispered into the stillness, I'm sorry, Elena, for doubting, for missing you. The words hung in the air, light now. Tomorrow she would seek them out, share her own stories, build what Elena had started. It was not too late. Love, after all, did not go away. It waited, patient, to be found again. The next Tuesday, the cemetery lay quiet under a pale November sun, the ground still soft from last week's rain. Leaves drifted in slow spirals, gold against gray stone. The air carried the faint bite of coming winter, crisp and clean. Mia arrived early, her trench coat buttoned high, heart steady but open. She waited near the gate, watching the path. When Lucas and Lily appeared, she stepped forward. Lucas carried the same quiet weariness, his custodian's polo replaced by a simple dark jacket, but the lines around his eyes told the same story. Lily walked beside him, small hand in his, pastel sweater bright against the muted day. Mia met his gaze. I was wrong, she said softly. To doubt you, to speak that way. I'm sorry. Lucas studied her a moment, then nodded once, the hurt easing. We all carry our own scars, he answered. Mia looked at Lily, who peeked up with cautious eyes. Would you both come to dinner? Tonight. My place in Manhattan. I'd like to hear more about Elena. And about you. Lucas hesitated, then smiled faintly. We'd be honored. They walked together to the car, the gravel crunching underfoot, a small beginning in the hush of the afternoon. Weeks passed like pages turning slowly. Mia's apartment, once echoing with emptiness, began to hold voices. At the long glass table, they ate simple food, roast chicken, bread, salad, and shared stories. Mia spoke of childhood winters, Elena reading by flashlight during power outages, the way she braided Mia's hair and whispered stories until sleep came. Lucas told of other patients Elena had touched. Quiet acts, extra blankets, a hand held through the night. Lily listened, drawing at the table's edge, crayons moving in careful strokes. One evening, the city wind howled cold through the windows. Lily woke feverish, coughing deep and wet. Lucas's face paled. Memories of Grace flooded back. He paced the small bedroom Mia had given them, whispering, We can't afford the hospital again. Mia stood in the doorway, heart heavy. She had learned to keep distance, to protect herself from entanglement, but Elena's words rose unbidden. Love doesn't go away. It changes shape. She picked up the phone, called a doctor she knew from board meetings. Come now, she said, please. The doctor arrived within the hour, examined Lily gently, prescribed medicine. Lucas watched, gratitude and fear warring in his eyes. Mia sat beside the bed as Lily slept, the room warm with lamplight and the soft rhythm of breathing. When the fever broke 2 days later, Lily opened her eyes, clearer, and reached for Mia. She wrapped small arms around her neck. Thank you, Aunt Mia, she whispered. The words landed like sunlight through clouds. Mia held her close, tears silent on her cheeks. The apartment filled with laughter that night, Lily's first real laugh in weeks. She drew a picture for Mia, a house with 3 stick figures, a rainbow overhead, Elena watching from above. Lucas stayed longer those evenings. He fixed a loose cabinet door, taught Mia how to caulk a window against the winter draft. In return, she set up a small savings account for Lily's future. Not charity, but a promise. They walked Central Park on weekends, leaves crunching underfoot. Lucas spoke of connection. Not grand gestures, but the small ones that hold a life together. Mia listened. She felt the walls she had built begin to settle, not fall, but lower. Lily's drawings covered the refrigerator now. Rainbows, flowers, people holding hands. The child who once hid from strangers now ran to Mia with open arms. The house, once silent, breathed with life. Mia understood something new. Family was not only blood. It was the people who stayed when the storm passed, who mended what was broken, who remembered the stories no one else knew. They sat one evening by the window, city lights glittering below. Lily slept on the couch, bear tucked under her chin. Lucas looked at Mia. She's starting to trust again, he said. Mia nodded, voice soft. So am I. The room held them gently. No need for more words. The connection had grown roots, quiet, strong, real. 6 months had passed, gentle as seasons turning. The cemetery in early spring wore new green, tender leaves catching the soft morning light. A light breeze moved through the oaks, carrying the scent of fresh earth and distant blossoms. The stones stood quiet, patient, as though they had always known this day would come. Mia walked the familiar path, Lucas beside her, their steps unhurried. Lily ran ahead a little, small legs carrying her with new confidence, a rolled drawing clutched in her hand. At 30, Mia no longer carried the sharp edges of solitude. Her face had softened, her eyes clearer. Lucas, still sturdy and quiet, walked with a lighter step, the weight of grief shared now rather than borne alone. They reached Elena's stone. The headstone gleamed in the sun, the name etched deep and steady. Lily knelt first, smoothing the grass with small hands. She unrolled her drawing carefully. 4 stick figures, 2 above, winged and smiling. Grace and Elena, angels in a blue sky. Below, Lucas and Mia holding hands, a golden thread connecting all four. Across the top, in careful crayon letters, Sister Elena drew rainbows with me. Now Aunt Mia is my new rainbow. Mia read the words slowly. Her breath caught. The child had taken Elena's lesson, turning fear into color, and given it back, brighter. Lily looked up at Mia, eyes wide and sure. "Remember when Mommy went away?" she asked softly. I cried a lot. Sister Elena came. She held me tight, said, "Family is the people who love you. Even when it hurts, they stay." The girl's voice trembled only a little. She said love makes a bridge, so we're never really apart. Mia felt the words enter her like warm light through cracked shutters. She remembered Elena's arms around her own small self, years ago, promising the same. The memory overlapped with this moment, past and present touching. Tears rose, unbidden, steady. Mia knelt beside Lily. "She was right," she whispered. The child reached out, wrapped her arms around Mia's neck. Mia held her close, feeling the small heartbeat against her own. The sobs came then, quiet, deep, releasing years of held grief. Lucas stood nearby, eyes glistening, one hand resting on Mia's shoulder. No words were needed. The three of them stayed there, bound by the golden thread in the drawing, by the love that had traveled through time and loss to find them again. Mia touched the headstone, fingers tracing Elena's name. "Thank you," she said aloud, voice breaking on the words. "Thank you for bringing them to me, for showing me family isn't only blood, it's the hearts that reach across the silence and hold on." The breeze stirred again, moving the leaves like a soft answer. Mia felt something settle inside her, a peace she had not known she could carry. Elena's kindness had not ended. It had multiplied, quiet and steady, in small acts. A drawing, a shared meal, a hand held in the dark. It had reached Lily, who now drew rainbows instead of hiding. It had reached Lucas, who smiled more freely. And it had reached Mia, who had learned to open doors she once kept locked. The sun climbed higher, warming the stone, the grass, their faces. Lily pulled back, smiling through her own tears. "We're all here now," she said simply. Mia nodded. Yes, they were. They stayed until the light shifted, golden and full. No hurry. No need to leave. The past had been honored, the present embraced, and the future, whatever it held, would carry Elena's quiet legacy forward. Love, after all, did not fade. It grew roots. It bloomed again. And sometimes, in the gentlest way, it made a family where none had been before. As the years gather, loneliness can settle like quiet dust in an empty room. Health fades, loved ones drift away, and the heart aches in silence. Yet stories like this remind us, kindness never truly ends. It finds new hands to hold. If this touched you, share it with someone alone today. Comment your own memory below. Subscribe for more tales of hope. May the Lord bless and keep you, easing every burden of body and soul. You are never truly alone.